All right, welcome back to Lyre this week, or from our perspective this month each time. Uh, I can't believe that Jericho personally hate crimed the creator of this game only a few weeks ago. Just lured him out.
If you were at FWA, you weren't.
Just lured him to a visual novel panel and then promptly didn't appear.
I was so sad. I was literally at the gate when the panel was supposed to start. I'm like, it's 4 hours late. I'm not gonna make it. I was gutted. I really wanted to be there, but then apparently no one was able to register in time for it anyway, so barely anyone were able to show up.
For background context, Jericho was doing a visual novel panel at Furry Week in Atlanta, but they scheduled him for the first day of the convention when everyone's still trying to arrive and register and so on. And then his plane got delayed, so he couldn't arrive to do his own panel. But the co-host he got last minute to help out did make it, so AtMac, the developer of Lyre, ended up being the only person there and had to just kind of wing it, I guess.
Apparently he did really well. Some people who did show up said that he handled it. It's just like, even like, I think Orion was like, yeah, I didn't even get in, so I don't know. I'm like, oh,
I was sprinting around the con stage trying to get in, and I was turned away by the volunteers. They're like, now you need to go through registration. It's like, that's good. On Thursday, that line is like 5 hours long.
And then an hour later, they made a big tweet saying, like, we understand that the registration line has been very long. The rest of the day, you will not need a badge. I was just like, are you serious? I don't care.
After it was too late, and people missed that exact event. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The struggle.
It's fine. We had fun. I watched Mean Girls for the first time. It was worth it.
I felt I very much struggled with the day one stuff. I'm like, what do you mean they're doing the aquarium buyout the first night? There was furries just filling the Georgia aquarium, and it's like, I want to see that, but I didn't land until 9 p.m. because with the 2 hours of transit to the airport, 2 hours you're supposed to be there early, then the actual flight time, then losing 3 hours to the time zones, then spending like an hour on the train from the airport to the hotel. Like, that's just a whole day. That's just, you wake up first thing in the morning, get on a plane, and then you arriving at an airport at late night. So you're arriving at a hotel late at night, and like, that's it. Fuck you.
Check your phone in the fountain.
Yeah, when you said that, you're like, my pants got wet, and I was like, how? And it's like, Purp or Keith lost his phone in the fountain.
I was trying to find, I was gonna make something out of this because everyone else is already turning in for the night practically. I'm like, no, I spent all day on transit. I'm doing something today. So I went back out to the lobby, looked for a friend of mine, got confused by the 3 floors of lobby that a hotel has. And then I leaned over a balcony and just dropped my phone down an entire floor into the lobby elevator pond thing. And just had several fursuiters as witnesses as I went down there panicked, because I thought I'd ruin the entire trip because my it'd be really hard to navigate a furry convention and
I was gonna say, you would have had to stick with somebody the whole time.
Yeah,
to
you'd have no way to contact anybody, so you just had to wing it. And that'd be people who think I don't like them anymore because I ignored them. I'm like, no. I had a bunch of fursuiters witness as I had to just take a shoe and sock off of one foot, roll up my pant leg as best I could, and just climb down into the pond to get my phone back.
Which thankfully it was fine, right?
Yeah, it's apparently fine. I didn't know it was waterproof, and I would not ever want to test it again. But the consequence was primarily just that I couldn't charge my phone for 6 hours. So I thankfully woke up in the middle of the night and realized it had the all clear warning, and was like, oh cool, I get to charge it before I wake up, so I don't even have to deal with the consequences of it being not charged in the morning and then figuring out how to charge it all throughout the day or anything. Things worked out.
I'm
fine.
Realizing now, like, the absolute panic of, like, I've dropped my phone like underneath the faucet once or twice. It's taken a little dip, but realizing the extended time period of, like, okay, I either do you hop down a floor, do you swan dive, from a floor up into the fountain just to save that time, because it's just so everybody understands, like, it is not fast to get anywhere in FWA. Like, you are always needing to get into a line of people.
One of the escalators was broken to get to the ground floor. Like,
yeah,
no, I did the service. I did like the concrete, like behind the metal doors staircase. Like
wow.
I rushed over to like the staircase that they don't really want you using most of the time, or that's not where they direct traffic towards, but I like just ran down the old-fashioned way and then ran back over, and
I would have yelled at someone down there, please, can you get that for me, please?
No one on the planet is going. First of all, good luck getting someone's attention from the wrong floor, but also like no one's going in the water for you. I just have to go for it. Or at least that's my brain. That's like, I will never be somebody else's problem. I just have to like bulldoze through my problems and address them head on in the dumbest ways possible. Anyway, we all did Furry Weekend Leonard together, and Atmec was also there, the writer of this game, and a bunch of other people, and we all played Spin the Bottle.
Oh my god, we sure did. The stories, the tea.
Atmec does good cosplay.
He does look good in a dress.
Of Elden Ring characters who I am not familiar with yet because I haven't played that game.
Oh yeah, he was Mikola.
You can wait for the movie apparently.
From Puss in Boots. Yeah, apparently there's gonna be a movie.
The A24 movie.
That's the requisite amount of people of intro where people can complain that we don't even play the game in these videos.
Do they? Oh, they're boring.
I see it. They will always complain about every tangent. Someone will, but now I've prompted them to, so now it's ironic, and now they're all going to do it. But you can't. And now you just
driving up the engagement. It's a win-win either way.
Now none of them can hurt my feelings because I can't tell which ones are sincere and which ones are in on the meme because I called it out. Unless I forget about this, and then I randomly just think everyone's being mean to me 3 months from now, and I don't remember why. I contain multitudes.
This goes deep.
Part 3, Richter. Admit it, I'm remembering this is a slightly confusing title scheme if you don't actively remember where you are in the chapter. I almost feel like they should say chapter 7, part 3 or something, because otherwise you're like, and there's a lot of games or stories where the part would be like a very long-term part, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah, RTF just finished part 1. So.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So it's like, wait, we're in part 3 of Lyre. What does that mean? And they're like, wait, no, it's just part 3 of the chapter.
Part 3 of this chapter, yeah.
Because it's a perspective swap. We're back in prison. Just JK, we never left. The dull, colorless winter light shining through the cell window hits my face, granting me the slightest feeling of life. I watch the rays of sunlight gently change direction as the sun slowly moves across the afternoon sky. Each ray bounces off the small puddles of water which lay about the floor. Steam rises off them in thin clouds as the humidity of the cell clashes with the cold air drafting through the barred hole. Very different phrasing.
I was gonna say
slow and natural movements like this only emphasize how slow each day passes. The number of Freudian moments that happen in these playthroughs. It's the mindset. I'm like, we're in furry mode, so you never know. It could be anything. It feels like I've been here for much longer than I actually have. The hours have slowly started to turn into days, and if I hadn't focused on it, I would have lost track of time. Of course, it's only been a fortnight, but the constant thought of what's to come and everything else that's happened has been draining me mentally. Not to mention my physical appearance. I've had to remove most of my clothes at this point. It was bound to happen eventually. Same. The constant fluctuation in temperature as day and night pass has done a number on my body, along with the humid air rising deep from under the ground. At first, just wearing the coat and shoes was uncomfortable, but after a while the cold, damp shirt started to send chills all over my body. Taking it off left me vulnerable to all of the filth, but at least now my body isn't in a constant battle with itself and the environment around it. All that's left on me is the pair of black breeches from that fateful night. And undergarments, of course. My lack of clothing is nothing compared to my appearance and my body. Tying back my hair was something I had to abandon a week ago. It messily falls down past my shoulders, unkempt, damp, and far from clean. I don't know why you'd have to give up on tying your hair back.
It's so unkempt, maybe?
I don't know. It seems like that's the way that you
He hasn't brushed it in a while.
That's like the easiest way to keep it kempt. That's by these standards, you know? Having it down like this makes it easier to dry it out in what little sunlight I get. My face feels oily, every last part of it covered in dust, dirt, and sweat. I won't lie and say that my teeth were perfect before arriving in this circumstance, but as clean as I've tried to keep them, they still feel awful. I also lack the tools to deal with my facial hair. It always grew fast, which was nice because I've been told in the past it looks good with a bit of stubble. Now I just wish this itchy mess was gone. I would try shaving it all off with that mirror shard hidden in the cell, but I'd either end up maiming my chin and upper lip or slitting my throat. I try to imagine the look on Adrius's face as he and the guards walk down here to find me sprawled on the floor in a puddle of my own blood. It's truly hard to imagine just how he would react. Then I think of what Lyle would do. I shake the scenario out of my mind, not wanting to dwell on such a tragic scenario. Along with all this, as much as I feel like I should be tired, I'm constantly wide awake. I can only sleep for a couple of hours before waking up again, my body refusing to go back to sleep. I'd be ashamed of myself for not handling this better, but it's a dungeon. It's not supposed to be pleasant in the slightest. Anybody would be worse off in this situation. Right now, the only thing I can look forward to is food and water. For the past couple of weeks, the second I hear a guard's footsteps making their way up the tunnel, my stomach ties itself out in a knot out of hunger. The food is bland, stale, and sickening at first, but over time it's gotten better. I guess anything tastes good when you're hungry. Each tray has a small bowl of gruel with a couple vegetables on the side, along with a thin piece of bread. I try to eat the tiny amount of vegetables first. I usually dislike vegetables, so eating them when my hunger is strongest helps. Tigran told me this is good, because if I eat vegetables first, it should aid with the digestion of the rest. Sometimes there's even a dried piece of meat. Anytime there is, I like to savor it throughout the day. Even after all that, it pales in comparison to the cup of water I get. It rests in my hand, only a small amount of it is left. I sit there, legs crossed on the ground, staring at the window as I cradle the cup between my fingers.
I trust you'll be done with your break soon. I need to remember my voice.
Their voice wakes me from my thoughts, and I stand from the dirty ground. Yeah.
Meet me in the mind's eye when you're finished.
I take what's left in the cup and bring it to my mouth, tipping the contents back. Feeling the clean water wash over my tongue and down my throat feels like heaven. I never anticipated water this much until now. Appreciated water this much until now. And anticipated. I had managed to make it all the way throughout the night and the rest of the morning. Standing up, I swipe the straw and dirt from my rear and go sit on the slab of stone, which I've come to call my bed. Before I'm about to go in, I can hear a little bit of conversation coming from up the tunnel. Speaking with Tigran in the mind's eye feels like the best option now. No interruptions. It takes no time at all to calm my mind as I drift into the mind's eye. I'm amused by how often Richter phrases the Tigran mode as being like a chance to not have any interruptions, because I just don't imagine he's being interrupted much.
In general, yeah.
If it does feel like he goes into that mode right when he's about to be interrupted, but I'm like, it's just not a thing that's usually happening to you. If anything, you're like queuing yourself up like, well, if you plan it to happen specifically right before somebody walks over, then you're really like doubling up on your social battery. You're like, perfect timing. Now I can have to have 2 exhausting conversations back to back. It takes no time at all to calm my mind as I drift into the mind's eye. as colorful as ever. Ah, my eyes.
Are you going to continue your training today?
They jump into sight with a startling flash, but I'm not too bothered by it as much as I would have been a week ago. There's nothing else to do. I say this in a dry tone, which elicits a sigh from them. I've already counted all the bricks on the walls. Do you remember how many there were?
1,100
1,183.
That's a big cell.
I have no concept of how many bricks would be in a cell. And there's 474 made from a different stone. I usually enjoy counting, but not like this. Training is driving me crazy, and anything I can do to take a break from it also drives me crazy. I'm in a constant battle with myself while you pull my strings like a puppet.
Whoa, where is this coming from?
Aggro.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, I love them rolling.
They roll their eyes at me and cross their arms. Which ones, though? Do you think that they've invented any weird systems of crossing their arms, like just strange lattices of their 6 arms? An annoyed expression appearing across their face with every word from my mouth. It only makes them more irritated.
The puppet controlling the puppet is not to blame.
What's that supposed to mean? They let out a sigh and disregard my question, asking one of me instead.
You don't want to train, do you?
I take a deep breath and try to calm myself down as I prepare a reply. I want to, but with each vision that yields no useful information, I grow more and more reluctant. I don't want to feel this way, but it can't be helped.
Your life could depend on it.
If my life is so precious to you, then tell me who killed Raynar. Or tell the king yourself. I'm sure he'd love to hear it from you. There's a long and drawn-out silence from them. That was a joke. Please don't lecture me again.
Aha.
They release a sardonic laugh. I'm being serious, though. I've been training without a single break for the past few days. Literally just was on break. And I feel like I'm going insane. Never mind. I am going insane. 2 weeks of being in a dungeon is bad enough, but dragging my mind through endless strain and meaningless visions, all in the pursuit of a single past memory is...
difficult?
It's maddening. And what if it doesn't even matter in the end?
You'll never know unless you learn what really happened.
No, that's not what I meant. Even if I do find out who killed him, it will only give me a slight edge in an already botched trial. Not to mention the impossible situation I've been thrown into. I could toss as much proof as I wanted at Adrius, and he would still kick me through the streets and throw rocks at me, and then kill me.
Have you really given up that easily?
I sigh and shake my head slowly. No. I'm just choosing to see things realistically. I'm not going to give up, because I know that if I did, I would never hear the end of it from you. They can't help but let out a soft chuckle, accompanied by a concerned face.
You're right. But another reason is that it's your only chance.
The quiet noises around me suddenly become thick and heavy as the words settle in. I've assumed it to be the only outcome so far, but do you think I could escape a death sentence even if found guilty?
It's possible. Not likely, though. People have been put to death for less than killing a king.
The question is, can you escape the execution after being sentenced to death? Because that's another thing entirely. I feel like there's no reasoning with Adrius, because I'm still on theory A of just like, isn't it just him? Isn't
yeah.
Like it's just
he's just trying to find someone to blame. Probably is how I'm feeling.
I just think Adrius killed him, or is responsible in some way. Because there's like, especially with the way that they almost seem to be indicating further that Kadaj didn't do it, and I'm like, well, there's no other characters, so it's either it's Adrius, which is somewhat predictable but like acceptable storytelling, or it would be like it was the evil people, this the same people that killed his wife, and it's like, but those aren't characters, they're not in the story, so it'd be disappointing if it was the outside adjutants or whatever's going on with that particular group or what their deal is. So if Adrius killed the king, then I'm like, obviously the trial's a sham because he doesn't want to catch the real killer. He's trying to execute Richter for his own plan. So it's either Kadaj or Adrius. But if it's Adrius, then it's like, okay, I feel like the whole plot's just building up to probably you go up to the trial, you have the sentence and so on, but then Lyle rescues Richter and they flee to another country. Is like the only way I can see it playing out. Unless Lyle's about to like kill the king, in which case I don't think that works out for him anyway, because even if all this stuff is true and the king is guilty and so on, there's no like way to convey an entire game's narrative to the people or the guards and so on. So everyone involved is still going to like see him as like the Kingslayer basically, if you did that, and that would still not go well. So you'd still have to flee the country. So I figured they're probably gonna have to escape the king either way, because you can't Phoenix Wright somebody when they essentially are in control of reality. Like they are the king. You can't. There's no trial where you can be like
anything they say
he's
to the masses,
guilty, and then the system was like, oh, I guess we're executing him now, and then Adrius gets executed. That doesn't happen. That's not how these systems work. That only happens in like an uprising, and we're not inspiring an uprising. That's not the story that we're setting up, as far as I can tell. We're not gonna have a French Revolution or anything. Thanks, Tigran.
What? I'm only seeing things realistically.
Again, very funny. I should probably go back. There's a short pause as the colorful mists lightly glide past our figures. Richter, you haven't practiced yet. I thought
yeah, you literally just got here.
Yeah, you've been here for 2 seconds. They speak up, their voice filled with levity.
You really should continue your training, though. I can sense that you're getting better with each time you delve into the past.
Their words of encouragement are nice, but I can't help but feel their words don't ring true. The closer these visions get to the present, the harder it is to have them. It's like time is a road and a tree has fallen in the path. I hope you're right. I'd prefer not to have to do any last-minute investigating during the trial. They laughed at themselves, still wearing a face full of concern and guilt.
That would be preferable.
I give him a slight wave before taking my leave.
Wait, are we really leaving?
I guess so, yeah.
Alrighty.
Just gonna peace out of here. They awkwardly raise a paw, and I see the slightest hint of a smile. Seeing this makes me think for a moment that there could be a hope, as much as I doubt it. I wonder precisely how much stamina loss there is from doing these visions. I'm trying to remember if there was like a specific toll it has on Richter, and then he has to like rest for a day or something.
I can't remember. Does it also like stop time kind of outside?
When he's here, it stops time. So that's why part of me is I was like, yeah, I'm probably thinking, I'm like, can't he? Couldn't
once we get to the trial, it's like, okay, I'm gonna just go into my mind's eye until I figure it out.
I'm just gonna, just sit there forever. I'm like, what is the threshold? What's the limitation?
This was a point of confusion that we had a few sessions ago, where Adrius walks in and says that like Richter's zoning out, and then Richter says something really specific about like he came while I was in this state, and that means that I can be interrupted. It was like, wait, I still don't remember like what exactly the specifics were there of like what he was doing, because we don't get to see what his POV was. We're in Adrius's perspective.
At the time, I thought that sequence was like he hears somebody coming and he's like, no, and he like goes to this state to not deal with them, because time will pause.
Mm-hmm.
But if time is pausing, then how can Adrius walk up to see his eyes like that if time doesn't pass while he's in that state? Which means you can't. In the abstract, you can't walk into the room in the first place while time is paused to see him like that, to then be there when he switches back. But also, like, in a really minute ways, if his eyes do change color when he's like that, would you even perceive them changing color if you were staring at him the whole time? Because time didn't pass while his eyes were that color. But we have two different dream layers. We have the ability to have visions and the ability to be here, and I think he can have visions here also. And it's here that time doesn't pass, whereas when he has the visions, time can pass. And that's just a lot to keep track of at times about which stuff is stacked at a given time and what rules we're applying. So we might be mixing up one with the other because it's been a while since we were in that scene.
No, it definitely. I think you're right. It was, he said that like he came to me while I was having a vision, and it's just like, is it when he starts having a flashback, like then time starts going again? I'm not like. I don't think there's really a clear answer to this, but I think that was the way he phrased it. And also to answer, like, I don't think there is any like real like physical toll. It's just like he really just kind of stops doing this whenever Tigran tells him he should. Like that's pretty consistently. Tigran just says like, "That's enough for today. That's enough. Stop doing it now."
And now it's start doing it, and then we didn't even try.
Yeah. Ugh. Not in the mood.
It's a nice thought, but one that brings me less joy with each hour that passes and every day that comes and goes. I pull myself out of the cavern, slowly bringing myself back in touch with my body. You accomplished as little as possible there.
Achievement, shortest time.
Yeah, might as well. That conversation was a classic like case of like, this could have been a text. This could have been an email. Instead of me coming all the way to the color dimension, we could have just had that conversation that was 3 seconds long, just normally, because we were to do that. This was just an excuse to look at Tigran again, obviously. That's why the scene existed.
Which I'm not complaining about, but...
When I'm back, everything is the way it was before. The sun is slowly sinking in the sky, and I can hear chatter coming from up the tunnel. I get up and walk over to the wall across from me and sit down, positioning myself in the sunlight. Once I'm comfortable, I prepare to dive into another vision as I've done before. As I sit there trying to concentrate, the noise stops and I hear footsteps coming in my direction. I thought you were anticipating this person coming because
you
thought about
you wanted to leave.
Yeah. Now he's like, I guess he has ADHD is the answer here.
He's unmedicated. No, I mean, literally, he's not taking the medication.
I'm literally neurodivergent and a minor. They sound like hooves. It's most likely Adrius coming back to aggravate me some more. I sit there with my eyes fixed on the wall in front of me, ready for him to round the corner wearing his classic face of disgust. The footsteps get heavier, though, and I wonder if it really is Adrius. They're slow, and thud on the ground like someone banging rocks against the floor. The person steps in front of the barred-off doorway, and I quickly realize it's definitely not the deer.
There
Hello.
he is. That's my boy right there. That's my boy. I love him. Favorite sprite in the game. I want him to cut my head off and carry me around like a lollipop chainsaw. I just... I like this design a lot.
That straining codpiece. Before me stands a large horse in a thick black cloak. His face is masked, and I can only see his large brown eyes as they peer at me from behind the hood. I've only ever seen horsemen outside the village, but seeing one this close indoors allows me to realize just how big they are. He's taller than Lyle, and possibly even larger than Bjorn. Have they met? Yeah, they met when he was arrested. He has his fist firmly placed on his hip, but it's not how one would usually picture it. Unlike when Lyle would confidently place his paw on his hip, it almost looks like he's supporting himself. like he had a hurt back and was applying pressure. His robes are ragged and loose, falling down around his broad shoulders and coming to an end at his waist. A golden medallion is placed around his thick neck and shines with the symbol of Tigran. It's a symbol I'm now far too familiar with. The decoration looks old and bent. My eyes pan down and I notice the object in his hands. An axe larger than any I've ever seen. The handle is made of a long, gnarled piece of wood, and the blade is crescent-shaped. It gleams in the dim light and looks sharp enough to cut bone. The axe of an executioner. It's funny to have the realization drop there and not everything else about his appearance. My heart drops in my stomach and my body begins shaking all over. I back myself up against the wall a bit more and get that taste in the back of my throat that I usually get when nervous. Why would he be down here? I didn't think I would be seeing him anytime soon, and if I did, it would mean the worst for me. Is this some sort of sick joke by Adrius? You're the executioner? He looks upon me again, his golden eyes old and sad. He takes a moment to respond, but when he does, his voice is soft and gentle. It reminds me of Lyle's voice, but it's almost like a tone that a father would use to console their child.
Yes, I could be called that.
What do you mean by
Did that
that?
come through at all?
What do you mean by I could be called that?
Please, don't be frightened of me.
Sounds like Asgore beeps.
You want to, if you don't want to be afraid of you, then why are you arriving dressed like this?
With an axe?
Yeah. Did you have an axeless sprite? His voice travels through the space between the bars almost like a mist on the wind, which is most of your experience lately anyway. For some reason, it's putting me at ease despite the current situation. Still, my curiosity proves stronger. What are you doing down here?
Visiting?
Don't. He reaches behind his back, under his cloak, and pulls out a thick, rusty ring full of keys. Each key is almost identical, with certain markings on them. He starts to quickly go through them. Visiting? What do you mean? Why would you want to visit me? He pauses for a moment, holding a key closer to his gaze and then continuing.
It's not a matter of wanting to. It's expected of me.
Expected? Do all executioners do this? Unless he had his second job of being a turnkey, it doesn't make much sense. It's like when a snake lays down next to you and the bed decides up whether or not they can swallow you. So as I listen to the jingling of his key ring, I start to wonder if that's actually a possibility. No, I would have seen him by now if that were the case. Unless I'm not the only prisoner in the dungeons. He finds the key he was looking for and sticks it in the lock. He twists the key, and the lock comes undone, the chain falling against the doorway with a loud clank. Putting one hoof through the doorway, he slips through and closes the barred door behind him with a loud thud that rings up in the hall. I feel like, given the general political upheaval that happens whenever there's a new king, and also Adrius' entire personality, there's probably more people in this dungeon. There's just none of the named characters maybe, but there's got to be more people in this dungeon right now. I back up against the wall a bit more as they approach, scuffing my feet across the floor. Is this some sort of joke? He stops where he stands, his tail flicking slightly as he looks down at me with a perplexed gaze.
I'm not very good at jokes.
Then why are you down here? Did Adrius send you? He sits down on my bed and looks at me with confusion and concern. He rests his axe against the great slab of rock, the light shining off it and casting a glare on my eye. I have to tilt my head slightly so I'm not being blinded.
I believe he did, but I would have come down either way.
Why?
Because I have to.
I hunch over and hug my knees, keeping my eye on him. His eyes look like golden coins, shining dimly behind his shrouded gaze.
Oh, yes.
He just realized. I'm like, this character's remarkably...
I like that he's got the, like, uncomfortable looking at the thing he's holding sprite.
I'm just amused that he's, like, remarkably unaware of his own presentation and the scenario somehow, even though it's
the
all that's
giant,
happening.
Probably heaviest thing on him that he carries around.
Or just, like, not... Like, when somebody's failing to accommodate the really basic elements of, like, the obvious question that someone's going to have about the scenario that's happening, and they're acting strangely oblivious, like they're a character in a horror movie or something. You're like, Mr. the Executioner, you know why I'm acting this way. You walked into my cell as somebody who thinks they're going to get executed with an axe while in garb. What up, bro? Could you get to clarifying a little sooner?
Well, I like my horsemen. It is really obvious that this character coming in, like the fact that they say like he sounds kind of like Lyle. It's like this scene is. I'm sure this guy isn't a love interest, but it's just kind of meant to endear him to you the way you would a love interest. It's just like, look at what a big himbo he is. He doesn't realize that he's scaring you with his axe. What a big dork. I love him. I think it's sort of that is the intended reception here.
I can't believe that this was a character like this would be written by someone who likes Death Wolf.
I've forgotten that you're not from here.
Oh, this is normal.
I don't know if people who are from here would all be
Everyone learns about all the intimate details of the execution process.
Yeah, everyone learns about executioner etiquette right after they learn about not dating anyone who's not your species. It's grade 3. He looks me up and down for a moment.
They do things differently in Aaron?
I let my body relax a bit and reply, the words trapped in my throat. I don't know, I've never been in prison before. See? It's weird to know your own country's executioner's etiquette. The horseman takes a breath, then leans against the wall behind him. I just figured seeing you come down here only could mean certain death.
It's not the case.
You're really drawing this out, buddy.
I can assure you that I haven't come down here to kill you.
That's a good opening line.
Why did you bring your axe?
Yeah. That's the line you should open with, Mr. Executioner.
I'm no butcher.
What does that mean?
What?
What does that mean? But you're the executioner.
Yeah, that dried meat you're holding, that's the other guy from down the hall.
He leans forward with a jolt as if he's realized something important.
There are many misconceptions about people in my line of work.
Are you kidding me? Like, what do you... you come down to the prisons with an axe? And, like, I don't know why you're just assuming I'm here to kill you.
I'm thinking about, like, every 10th doctor you meet who kind of seems to not get that the patient is a patient and they're a doctor, and there's assumptions about the context of the social interaction, and you have to, like, start over weirdly. You're like, huh.
I think that in Aaron they do things a bit differently, but this applies to everyone.
As I slowly rock my body, I watch as he looks me in the eyes with a thoughtful gaze. Eye contact is something he seems to be very good at. A bit too good for my taste, as I find that it feels like he's staring into my soul. These misconceptions, what are you referring to?
We are merely tools of the Justiciar. The judge gives the sentence and the headsman carries it out.
You have no responsibility in this. Got it.
I'm just like, is that? I assume that's not the misconception. That's who you are, right? Like,
Am I supposed to like not feel bad or feel bad that you're doing this now?
is this the misconception? Because it seems like that would be what everyone would think. Yeah.
Or not we wish to or not, it is done.
I don't see how this makes things better. It also doesn't explain why you're down here. So that wasn't the misconception. That was just the reality.
He's just saying, I'm actually a big, gentle giant. Is his whole
He introduced
vibe.
misconceptions as a topic, but then didn't explain them? My sentence hasn't been passed, let alone the trial.
Unlike the hooded strangers who only come out at the king's behest and errand, I have other jobs.
That's presumptuous.
I'm here to measure you for
Used
your
as a tool
coffin.
for death, my purpose is holier than most.
You're religious then.
As much as one can be in this time.
He's doing a bad job at assuaging worries and so on, or even addressing misconceptions. It's like, no, yeah, we know that you're the executioner, and that you're supposed to do it when the trial declares us to be dead. You arriving here is why we're worried, because it makes us think that we've been ordered to be executed. That's the premise. How you're so bad at reading this, dude. Oh, it's a common misconception. I'm like, no, I know what you are. That's why I'm worried.
However, it's unnecessary for me to prattle on about that. There will be a time to speak about it later. It is the duty of a headsman to bond with the accused and guide them to the path of acceptance.
Oh, what?
Whether they are innocent or guilty.
What?
It's like a confessional or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, is he supposed to be like the priest as
Yeah.
well? Reading my final rites, potentially?
You might have clarified how things go before you unlocked the cell and then entered the cell with an axe.
Yeah, I think the axe is a little overkill, buddy.
Yeah. Be not afraid. But also, I have like a JRPG weapon on me. You here to bond with me?
5 centuries ago, the men of the church might have come down here too.
Men of the church?
Oh, yes. There were plenty of them from Driz who had come north to spread the word of God. And how could King Rune turn them away when his own interest in religion was as strong as theirs?
Why would they visit prisoners, though?
They would come down here to try and convince the prisoner to confess their sinful acts. Show them illustrated scripts from the old tomes. Holy teachings and whatnot.
I sit up and rub my hands together out of nervousness. I look up at the shackles hanging off of the wall behind them, their rusted chains and clasps making my wrists feel uncomfortable just by looking at them. You're not here to do that, right?
No. That's not why I'm here.
What was the point of that conversation?
World building. I don't care if you've committed murder. It doesn't matter to me.
Why not?
Because it's not for me to decide. I am merely the axe. Nothing more.
What?
It's again, it's just like a lot of
I don't-
conversations in this VN. It's like it's less about like we're less interested in actually having a conversation and more just in convincing you of how these characters relate to one another on like an emotional level. Like it's just very like he's really selling us on his vibes is why he's here.
He's like, I'm coming down here to bond with you. Years ago, people would do this. I'm not, though. That was pointless. I don't know why I told you that. Anyways.
Please explain your goal again. I'm getting a bit confused.
Well,
I feel like that line might be a sign to revise at that point your character introduction, because you're trying to introduce
not really meta
background lore and the character at the same time. But if the character is not a good example of the background lore, then maybe you don't need it. If he's not going to be representative of this executioner lore, but also maybe no character ever will in the story, then the fact that you wrote that idea as a background detail, but then it won't come up in the story, is like that would be a classic like kill your darlings. Like that's not the thing you keep. That's just like a little. That's at that point it's like your personal headcanon you can hold on to in case it ever comes up. But it's just not a net. It really muddies the introduction of this character where I'm like, hang on, what are we saying?
My goal is to help you come to terms with your future.
After just saying that you don't care about what I did or didn't like.
I throw my hands into my lap and tilt my head. Future?
The trial approaches and your days are possibly numbered. I'm here to help in any way I can, as is the duty of a headsman.
Then why'd you say you're just an okay, so that threw me off. So I thought he was throwing all that away, right? But
yeah,
I'm wondering. I feel like death row inmates probably get like therapists of some kind, and that's like what he's here for.
Yeah,
but
so
I don't really
he
know
is
that
functionally doing the thing that they said, but not quite. Like he is here to talk to him about and have him come to terms, which is the original thing he said.
I guess. We
just introduced the tangent that they used to be about making people confess, but he's not. Their words caused an empty feeling to appear in my chest, as if someone would just pulled my heart from my body. For a fleeting moment, nothing seems to matter anymore. My thoughts only go one place. It's the last place I would have expected them to go, but it makes sense the more I think about it. Snow crushed between my hands, breath just barely holding on to the inside of my lungs. I feel my chest start to rhythmically beat, sending a hot feeling throughout my body. I try to look around and find something to take my mind off this feeling. I look over at the cell door as it rests in the archway, slightly ajar. Why didn't you lock the cell?
Because I know you won't try to leave.
Huh?
How?
Because you're smarter than that.
What's your name? He shakes his head, looking away and sighing.
I can't tell you that. But I'm sure you'll find there's a bit of good in not knowing my identity.
I see a small smirk grace my lips, but it doesn't feel like it was done out of arrogance. Why does he know that he's smarter than that? It felt full of understanding. As soon as the exchange ends, my mind travels back to the thoughts from moments ago. A heavy weight on my chest. Chaotic screams and shouts all around me. I let out a laugh, a soft, strained chuckle through gritted teeth. Why am I laughing? Trying to make it stop only makes it worse. I look up at the headsman, his face stoic and his eyes focused. It's as if he senses nothing wrong. A few more shivering laughs escape my mouth, and I start to feel tears forming at the corners of my eyes. I want to cry so badly, but as hard as I try, the tears won't flow down my face.
I'm listening.
Raising my head, I see him staring at me with a soft expression.
What troubles you?
These words cause my resolve to shatter. You wouldn't understand. I've always struggled with the concept of death. Understanding what it is and how it works is easy enough, but when reality sets in and feelings wash over, I'm never how I should be. The emotions just aren't there. Close friends and relatives pass away, and I'm told I should feel sad. And at first I was. I try. God knows I try. But life goes on, and the living leave and the dead behind. Then, an avalanche happens, killing a dozen men in my caravan. I survived by some miracle and wasn't even awake for the morning. I'm told of the events that transpired, and at first I feel nothing. Over time, the guilt starts to grow more and more. Just as I start to feel something, everything goes right back to the way it was. 1 month later, I walked in on a terrible scene. My king, bleeding at my feet, wounded beyond saving. Even then, all my mind can do is scurry about and try to piece together what just happened, as I sit there in the puddle of his blood, acting a fool. I look down at my hands. My fingers are thin and cold, the blue streaks of veins running up and down them clearly visible. So it's ironic, isn't it? As selfish as I am about other people's deaths, coming to terms with the idea of my own is impossible. No matter how hard I try. And he... I mean, he had this growing guilt. He definitely felt something, at least. For me, something that threw me about this situation is that he's like, we're getting backfilled the information that he was feeling stuff about the avalanche and the people he was with, but I feel like they've almost never been mentioned outside of the first 20 minutes of the story.
This is another, like, Richter treats his job like a game, like a chess game, and it's like, wait, does he?
Yeah, like, is that a part of his personality? It's like, we haven't been grappling with his numbness or anything. It almost feels like a lampshade of the idea that, like, the writing kind of forgot about the lives lost before the story started and just didn't really talk about them much, and now it's like, well, now we gotta make it Richter's characterization or something. Which, like, could have been planned, but if it was planned, you think you would, like, it would come up at some point, like he'd reflect on this feeling or lack thereof, and like how he processes these things, besides, instead of just coming up and bringing it up now like it's a known thing. No matter how hard I try. I stare into the ground, tears welling in my eyes, but refusing to flow. My mind won't stop feeding me these thoughts. I want to run away from all this, now more than ever. Take Lyle with me to live somewhere where nobody will ever find us. Throw away my connection with Tigran and ditch their purpose that they so graciously bestowed upon me. Lyle and I can stay there forever and love each other. We can grow old and... Damn it all. I slump against the wall, hair in my face, and legs spread out across the floor. My eyes glance in the direction of the headsman, and he's still sitting there. He hasn't moved an inch, and his expression is still the same as it was before. He bites down on his lip, and he prepares to speak.
I understand what you're going through. There are many people who suffer the same experiences.
He leans forward, resting his weight on the handle of his axe.
Can I ask you something?
Can I ask you to put that away? What is it?
Did you do it?
I stuttered this out through heavy breaths.
Do you fear death?
That seemed to be the point of the first half of everything he just said. All about
No, it's again like
struggling with
it's
his own death.
just like these characters are not really having a conversation. It's like he's clapping back with like, here's my deal as the cool horseman. Like, I'm going to lay down some truths on you. I'm not really going to address what you just told me about your personality. I'm just going to say, I get you.
Yeah, it's not
on to the next thing.
Even the introduction, I think it's because he was overall going towards the idea of like, no, I'm so numb about death normally though. But at first it definitely sounded like, you wouldn't understand. I struggle with death. I'm gonna die and I can't come to terms. I'm like, that's the average interaction he has with everyone. He would definitely understand. I don't really have to give this question much thought, so I answer. It's not something I think about a lot.
We just got done thinking about it a lot.
Yes. That's an insane reaction. That's an insane reaction for Richter.
Literally like about to burst into tears because we were thinking about it a lot.
Yeah. And it's like, not just because this conversation either. Like, it's, if this is at a random dinner party and this conversation came up and he said that, sure. But he is literally on the chopping block, figuratively. He's literally anticipating being on the literal chopping block. And that's been the only thing he's talked about all episode so far for us, including before this guy got here.
Excuse me.
You can't say he doesn't think about it that much. It's all that he's thinking about lately. Everyone fears death at one point in their life.
Why should
at
you?
One point? Shouldn't everyone?
Everyone does, but that doesn't mean they should. There's a reason for this. You have been dead before.
Oh, it's gonna hit us with the cosmology of like, oh, you've in the duration of the universe, for most of all of existence, you weren't alive.
I've got some literature for you. Pulls out the Book of Mormon.
His book gets a little serious all of a sudden.
His book.
What do you mean by that? He reclines, resting his axe on the floor by his hooves. The heavy metal lets out a soft clank as it hits the ground.
Most people today believe that when you die, you will be delivered onto nothingness. But they often forget to ask themselves an important question.
Where did we come from?
Yes. Before you were born, you were nothing. If there isn't an afterlife, as so many people believe, then you have nothing to be afraid of. For all it's worth, I'm sorry about the things that have happened to you.
You just said that you don't care.
I hear this trotted out left and right to the point where I'm a little surprised I didn't work it into my own visual novel, because there's a couple characters that could have brought up this exact line of topic. But it's a thing I reject because it inherently is kind of missing the point of people liking being alive.
No, nothing is bad. I don't want oblivion.
Yeah, like if you don't, there's a terrifyingness to oblivion itself, but also it's just like, even if you're like atheist or agnostic or whatever, like I don't believe in any kind of like spiritual thingy that will happen whatsoever. I would like to keep living, like quite a bit. I think living is pretty good and all the stuff it comes with. So the permanent ending of that is terrifying because of the value of life and my own life and what I enjoy about being alive and that being gone forever. Just because I won't suffer doesn't mean there's nothing to be afraid of. Like, I'm not going to be in damnation and I'm not going to like experience being in the void. So it's like whatever is scary about it, I won't experience. It's like, I know for a fact I won't be afraid when I am dead because I won't anything. But that's no reason not to be afraid of dying. Because I want to not be dead. I don't want to die. It's like I've always rejected this line of thought. It reminds me of like similar like thought processes people have, like when they bring up that like immortalities would be bad because like life's brevity is what gives it meaning and other like sappy nonsense. And I'm like, both those things feel like cope. Those both feel like cope. Like just, well, this is inevitable, so I better just feel good about it because it's inevitable, because then I'll feel better about it. And that's the reason to think the thing. And I'm like, that's thinking something just because it'll make you feel better can have value, but it's not a very good argument. Anyway. I appreciate the concern and advice, but so far none of this feels helpful.
Grace.
Burned. He takes a deep breath and lets it out through his nose.
There's something else I want you to understand, though. You can't give up. I'm only down here in the case that you're guilty.
I am only down here in the case that you are guilty.
It's phrased weird, but I get what he's saying. It's like hopefully I don't see you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to say, like, I'm only here to do this job
in case you're guilty.
If you are guilty, it's It's messing
But
me
I
up
also
because
don't care if you are or not.
it's messing me up because he says whether you're guilty or not earlier. So I'm like,
Yeah.
Better to get stuff like this out of the way now. But if you're innocent, think of me as a friend. If you need to talk to me about anything, I'll be available for the next 3 days.
He's gonna be like out there in the hall, like
yeah. Do you
ready,
have like
ready for me.
Do you have a special?
I'll just be here
bell?
sharpening my blade, just try and meditate with that.
Mm-hmm. I summon you by clopping 2 halves of a coconut shell together, and then he. How do I signal to this horse? Do you have
Room
appointments?
service.
That would be so rude. Stop that. That's not funny. Just, yeah, like the bowl, whatever bowls they serve him, the cup he was talking about earlier. Just like making fun of him.
I bring my legs up to my chest and wipe my eyes with my hands. I have a friend. His name is Lyle Reed.
The Royal Guard's captain.
Yeah. He's the closest I've been with anyone here. Visions of Lyle's face flash before my eyes. I can see his smile and hear his laugh. I can feel his tears and smell his scent. Flowery and fresh with a hint of coconut. There's your off aromas formula. They'll be like Lyle's ballsack. But he's not allowed down here. King Adrius said that he can't visit anymore. I only get letters now, and even those have stopped. What do his letters say? Have we gotten a letter? I don't remember.
We got like 1 or 2. I remember.
Were they delivered
Yeah, that was,
by,
I think-
what's her name?
Yeah, Elizabeth brought it to
Yeah.
him, and then he, because we commented where he just kind of said like, okay, and didn't like have a response or like anything to deliver back.
A heavy silence falls over the cell. I can feel my anxiety slowly starting to lower as I relax into the wall. What other business did you have down here? He looks up, answer at the ready as if he's been asked this question 1,000 times.
What else do you need to talk about?
I feel a rush of emotions overcome me. Relief, sadness, anger. Nothing at the moment. I wish to be left alone now, please. He grabs his axe off the ground and sits up straight.
Very well. I'll return later if you wish to speak more.
He walks toward the door and leaves through it, locking it behind him. I get up and lay down on the bed, staring up at the ceiling.
That's you, Jeri. That's your cue.
Richter.
Stop spying on my therapy sessions, Mom. Tigran, I said I wish to be left alone. I need to think. There's a short silence, then an understanding response from them.
As you wish.
I feel a little bad, but I know that they are only going to tell me to train. I can't blame them. It really is something I should be doing right now. It would be difficult, though. The headsman's words won't leave my mind. He seems nice. It'd be nice to have someone to talk to other than Tigran, but now my mind won't stop racing. I turn over on my side, eyes fixed on the wall in front of me. I start to make shapes out of the bricks in my mind, each pattern forming an image. Doing this takes my mind off everything usually, but now it's not working. Now my thoughts only move faster. Do they do this with every prisoner? Send an executioner down in their cell to talk with them about their uncertain future?
He said that.
That is what you explained.
I'm
That's the world building, Richter. It sounds nice on paper, but having experienced it just now, I don't know how to feel about it. Maybe I'll look back on it tomorrow wanting more. Still, he's given me a different outlook on all this. He said I shouldn't fear death, but he never said anything about defying it. My life is in my own hands. Not Adrius's. Not the headsman's. Until it literally is.
You're in jail. You're a prisoner, buddy.
Like, we don't know whether they'll go with it, but there's not a lot of visions you could have that would magically make you not get executed.
And
Mine.
then explaining to them the vision. I'm curious to see how that goes.
Gonna girl boss myself right off the gallows. A chilling draft flows over my body as I lay there. I reach down by my feet and grab the small blanket, bringing it up to my torso. It's damp, but far from cold, thanks to the hot air wafting through the tunnels. As I lay my head on the uncomfortable pillow, I take the blanket and wrap it around my shoulders. The chilling draft from outside becomes less of a problem now, but my legs and feet are still terribly cold. While I try to fall asleep, I pretend the blanket that's wrapped around me is actually Lyle. Aww. I imagined that night, before everything went wrong. When he breasted boobily atop me. His large warm body pressing against mine as his strong arms wrapped around my torso.